two Thunderbolt 5 docks, both claiming insane speeds, monster display support, and power to run your desk like a command center. But one is a minimalist productivity dream, the other a multi-monitor gaming beast. Today it's the Anker TB5 versus the Caldigit TS5. Let's find out which one really earns a spot on your desk. These are the two docks we're gonna review and go through and do a side-by-side comparison of. Here is two surefire ways to future-proof your productivity as well as even your gaming. If you're gaming, I guess, from a laptop and you want to project it onto a high refresh rate monitor, both of these boys pretty much got you covered. All right, so first things up, let's go ahead and do a quick unboxing. Spin the record. Here we are with our Anker unboxing. Now, just opening up this Anker box, you're gonna get that super premium feel just with the way it's packaged and the boxing and the wrapping on the actual dock and accessories. It's pretty nice. Looks very nice and premium here. Look at that. Nice air ventilation on the bottom of that bad boy there. Cold to the touch metal. Awesome sauce. We got our ports on the front. You have two USB-C ports there for 10 gigabit speeds as well as 45 watt total power. Mic and headset all in one port there. On the back we have some more vents. All right, so obviously we got our power port here on the bottom, which is going to connect directly to a wall, no power brick. We got our 10 gigabit USB ports. Here you have the Thunderbolt 5 upstream port that connects to your computer or laptop. Then the two Thunderbolt 5 downstream ports that connect to your displays for dual display. Thunderbolt 5 gets you about 80 gigabits in bi-directional bandwidth in standard mode, but both can boost up to 120 gigabits of bandwidth in boost mode for high resolution displays. And that's all through one single port. Then you have your display port and HDMI port. Note that you can only use one or the other. You can't use display and HDMI simultaneously for dual or triple display. 2.5 gigabits network. You also have micro SD and SD card slots. And then of course you're going to get yourself a nice little LED ring going on here. Once I plug it in, you'll see all of that wonderful beauty. But this thing feels super premium and this will look nice on your desktop. Obviously this is going to support up to 80 gigabits of speed. You have your power supply, which looks like the Mac type of power supply, straight cable, no power brick needed. The beautiful thing about the power supply of the Anker dock is twofold. One is just a straight power cable, and it looks like you can orient your cable here in any direction as it will go in one way or the other. So it is not picky about the way you orient, the way you plug it in. And this is the full contents of the box that you get with your Anker TB5 Thunderbolt 5 14-in-1 docking station. Pretty fantastic, coming in at $399. Okay, let's look at the Caldigit. Here we are with the Thunderbolt 5 TS5 docking station by Caldigit in a cool little box, and it gives you a little bit of a diagram here, what ports you got going on. And wow, a lot of small text. Get your glasses ready in order to read all of this stuff. Okay, let's just get right into it. Not as fancy and efficient as an unboxing as the Anker. And accessories, of course, your Thunderbolt 5 cable, which looks pretty cool and branded there with the Caldigit branding. Okay, and I see some rubber feet here, so I think you gotta install this onto the bottom of your docks so it doesn't slide. A little bit of a build here. Okay, you got your power supply, which indeed comes with a power brick, unlike the Anker. So a little bit bigger, bulkier, kind of cumbersome setup than the Anker itself. Okay, I kind of just don't like the mess these bricks make. All right, let's get to the dock. It's buried here at the bottom instead of being on the top. Okay, you have yourself a nice graded metal mesh, super metal body. And this is cool, I guess, for dissipating some heat, as this does not have that internal fan kind of blowing technology that the Anker has. So, okay, you can stand it up either like that on your desk. It is rubber here. If you look closely, there is like kind of like a rubbery finish, or you can stand it this way flat on your table, which is probably the way I probably would lay it, flat for a lower profile, or maybe in the back so you don't see it pushed towards the back. I don't know, it depends on how you want to look at it. That's probably your power indicator there. You have some SD card slots, of course, and you're going to have your 20 watt USB ports here for USB data. I'm sure it's probably 10 gigabit speed, joint input for audio and mic. So on the back, we also have a headphone port there, and we have, I guess that's a mic port. They have it separated here. You have your USB data. So a little bit more ports going on here. There's no HDMI or display ports here. So you have all Thunderbolt 5 going on here. You have your one computer, right, host port. And then you have your triple displays, 2.5 gigahertz speed, and your power supply and your locking mechanism. I will say you can see like visible screws on the back, very industrial-like. Overall, the Anker looks just a bit prettier than this metal box. Full contents of the box here, Techie Gamers. All right, so let's go ahead and see some of the specs and do a little overview and comparison and see which one of these devices suits your need, right? Let's do it. Let's look at what we got going on in terms of like real side by side, some stuff that makes them and sets them apart outside of visual aesthetics and the hardware. So with the Anker Prime, you have a built-in GaN power. That's right, so it has no power brick because it is using a newer technology from the old power brick technology, and it can put all that inside the dock. So nice in terms of like cleaner setup. With the TS5, you require a power brick, so a little bit sloppy, and it's going to take more space either on or behind your desk, wherever you decide you want to put that brick. LED and button serve a few functions. One, it is for turning on and off the LED, so you can see the activity of data transfer and stuff like that with your LED flashing. Two, you can actually turn it off if you don't want to see your LED and it's distracting. You want to make it a little bit darker in your room. Three, you can power down your dock completely with the button on the front by holding for a few seconds, and that will completely turn off your dock. 14 total ports on the Anker, with the Caldigit having 15, which has that extra port. However, there's a little caveat with the ports there because the Caldigit only has Thunderbolt 5 USB-C type ports. Now, that also is including your display out ports. So if you don't have a USB-C to HDMI or display port connection, or cable rather, then you might have a problem. So you'll need an adapter, and then you probably start bottlenecking speeds with your adapter. So you need a high speed adapter, really high speed, because it's Thunderbolt 5. A little more expense you have to spend into getting that, unless you have a monitor that already has a DP in USB-C. Then you're ready to rock and roll, and supposedly that port is or can support Thunderbolt 5. So a lot of you may not even be ready for that kind of setup. So with the Anker Prime, you get the option from HDMI to HDMI. A little bit slower speeds, you're going to get slower refresh rates, especially if you're doing it high resolution. There's a lot more display options with the Prime T5 or Prime TS5, Prime TB5. What? Getting confused? They almost like the same. They look the same here. TB5, TS5. How can you not confuse that? Dual 8K display support on the Anker Prime and dual 8K support on the Caldigit S5. So the triple is with 4K only. You can't get triple with 8K, and dual 8K the same way that the Anker dock gets you. You get 4K at 240 hertz. Sounds fantastic, right? Yeah. You better have a graphics card and a processor and all that stuff to support that type of display output. For something like that, that's more like for gaming, right? You don't really need to be editing beyond 60 hertz, mostly for gaming, right? 4K 240, have those HDMI 2.1 and up and higher and better, because, well, you're just not going to maximize that speed, and you better have a powerful rig to push that kind of frame rate out. 140 watt host charging for both, like I said, so they can support nice bulky laptops, but you have the brick problem and you have better GaN and power efficiency with the Anker Prime TB5, right? Not TS5. Smart fan cooling on the Anker TB5. For the Caldigit TS5, there is no onboard fan cooling the way the Anker has. And last but not least, you have some firmware updates you can do via the remote manager for Anker. With the Caldigit, there is a firmware update, and rummage through their website. How you go about doing that? Good luck. That's my take on these docks. If you're interested, links are in the description. You may or may not get a discount code for one of these. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. Let me know which one of these docks you think you would go for. Do you prefer the sleek aesthetically pleasing, at least for me, Anker device with its modern power supply source and LED ring, and has more options for peripheral connectivity? Or will you go with the all Thunderbolt 5 port dock, what the Caldigit has to offer, and well, not so clean looking power supply dock and setup, or modern power setup? The power is not as efficient as you have on the Anker, but it has a nice low profile. For me, I kind of want to, I swing towards the Anker dock. That's my taste, really. But you let me know. All right, with that, I'll see you in the next awesome one. Later.